It's finally here, Dave. I, I have so many thoughts about this, but I guess like maybe the question to start with is there's been so much hubbub about this movie, a lot of drama. We finally got it. Do you think the movie is actually worth talking about all that much?
I do. I definitely
Yeah.
do. Are we worried, darling? We are. We definitely are. Uh, Obviously, the drama has taken on a life of its own, separate from the film, and the film is, I think, very up and down. Ultimately, doesn't land. Has a ineffective twist, and we'll get into all of that. And well, I think why the movie doesn't work and those pieces that don't work and pieces that do work are all quite interesting because there's a lot of like important pieces going on in this movie and people that are I think important to pay attention to in film. But yeah, it's one of those fascinating messes, and that would have been the case even if we didn't have the legacy of this movie behind the scenes and then in front of our faces starting at the Venice Film Festival, right? Like there's
Yeah.
been a lot going on, some of it quite ugly, like the Shia LaBeouf stuff side of it, but um, you can't help but watch. It's like the burning car. We're all kind of rubbernecking with this one.
And I guess maybe just like lay out the drama. And I'm going to see if I can do this without forgetting a piece. Like pretty much like back in the summer, they started doing press for this. So probably like July-ish. And people noticed that Florence Pugh was really not pushing this
Right,
movie at all. And there was
the
like
star of the
these,
film.
yes, there were these like breadcrumbs that like maybe she wasn't so happy during filming. And more starts to come out about how the production had these issues. And it seems like Florence Pugh and Olivia Wilde didn't really get along so great. Seems like maybe Florence Pugh was upset that Harry Styles was brought on when Shia LaBeouf was originally cast to play opposite her.
A bit of
Jack.
an acting talent downgrade. Other issues with Shia aside, like I do get it.
Yeah. So and then all the stuff comes out about Harry Styles and Olivia Wilde becoming paramours and all the stuff with
Mm.
Olivia Wilde's relationship ending. Bring all of this into the was it Venice they're at Venice
Venice, yeah,
Film
beginning of
Festival,
beginning of the month.
and it's just a complete and utter mess at the Venice Film Festival. Florence Pugh is just completely eating up the red carpet, but like not doing any press related to the movie. Harry Styles is talking about how this movie is such a movie because it's a movie on the big screen. It makes you want to watch a movie, and it's like, what the fuck are you
Yeah,
talking
talking
about?
about how he doesn't know how to act, or like
Yeah.
doesn't know what he's doing, and like a kind of earnest manner, but it's just like, bro, you're not helping the cause right now.
And then of course the video seen around the world of Chris Pine sitting down, Harry Styles approaching him during the premiere, and it looks like he spit on him. Honestly, as I've reviewed it more, I've come to the conclusion he actually just blew on him, like blew like that, and I'm pretty sure that's what happened. But it just gave this whole life, like, oh, did Harry spit on Chris Pine? Like,
Well, Chris
what's
Pine did
that?
have like an incredulous reaction at the right time too. Like
He did.
Spitgate is quite the Zabruder film to study. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. So there's a lot there. And recently, reports came out that production it was during COVID. There was a lot of stress around the production. Olivia Wilde seemed very high stress during this. She had by this point, there's a video that had come out where she called Florence Pugh like Miss Flo and insinuated that she was difficult to work with. Apparently Olivia Wilde was telling cast and crew to be very careful and not getting COVID, not putting themselves at risk, basically quarantining. Meanwhile, she's out with Harry Styles at weddings, being filmed by paparazzi. So there's a lot of like frustration, also like lack of direction apparently from Olivia Wilde on set, and Florence Pugh saying that she's like basically setting up shots and giving direction for film. A lot of back and forth coming to the head of where Florence Pugh says she just did not feel supported during this and did not want to do any press and worked out a deal with the production company that
With
she was going to do
Warner
so.
Brothers.
So that brings us to the movie finally coming out. And the movie I think is okay. Like I think
Yeah,
there's some parts of it I really really liked, and there's some parts where I'm just kind of like left scratching my head and just I don't know why that, like it just needed more fleshing out,
hmm
and there's some really nice touches, and it's like I think very thought through in certain ways, and then very like not like half baked in other ways. And I was like,
yeah.
this could have used just a little bit more script doctoring, I think. But
Totally.
last is what we got. And Dave, I mean, give me just your general thoughts on everything going on around this
Yeah,
movie.
no, I agree with that. And like, if you want more about like the behind the scenes drama, we actually do have some like real reporting at this point. Like, I think Chris Lee at Vulture has a really good piece where like he actually took stuff out after like running it by like NY Mag lawyers. He said so. It's like that's like pretty well sourced at this point. So the info's out there. But yeah, with the film, like I think the reason I was interested in the movie from the get go is because this was the second directorial effort from Olivia Wilde. Booksmart was awesome, her first film.
Mm-hmm.
It was an amazing teen comedy, hilarious. Beanie Feldstein, Caitlin Dever were great. And it's like, okay, wow, Olivia Wilde switching to directing, new person to pay attention to. Good for her. That's very exciting. And then her next movie is going to have Florence Pugh and Shia LaBeouf. I mean, Harry Styles. And then you got Chris Pine and Gemma Chan. Yeah, sounds great. Very
Oh
exciting.
yeah,
You
and the
know,
trailers
and
look great.
they did. And I think the movie still looks good. I think it's well made for the most part. It's well acted, but yeah, it just the script is weak. The second half of the movie really drags. The second act, I think, is quite slow. I think the first act is pretty strong at setting things up, and then ultimately, once you get to that twist, once you get to like the climax and like those final set pieces, it's like this just wasn't conceived, I think, is in an intelligent enough manner to be a movie that is like a stealth genre film.
Mm.
And it doesn't kind of stand out among some obvious comparison points of films of the past that really, I think jump out to people. The Stepford Wives, of course, has been thrown out a
Mhm.
lot lately. All kinds of stuff, really. Black Mirror, I guess you could say. Um, yeah, and it's like, man, like I was pretty invested in that early setup, and I think I don't know, man, if we had just kind of taken this whole twist out of it, because I think like the societal comment in it is just like very simple, very I don't want to say very dated, but just like it's not really anything new. Which doesn't necessarily need to be the case either. I just don't think like it lands. Like the twist happens, and you're just like, oh, that's what was going on to here. Wow, that was not that satisfying. And I mean, I don't know. Is Harry Styles credible enough in the true version of his character? I don't know. To be honest, like he's just a bit too handsome for that. But yeah, I was with it in the first half, and I thought the atmospheric, of a pretty victory project, like 50s secret government town, very obvious node to the Manhattan Project, and
Mhm.
secret cities the government made testing for the military, like really cool, right? And 50s ephemera, seeing that in there, it's like,
Mhm.
wow, okay, cool. I'm with it. I'm with it. Florence Pugh, is she losing her mind? Is Kiki Lane losing her mind? It's like, oh wow, like all that I'm with it. And then the twist happens, and like it just kind of like loses me completely.
Yeah, the twist in some ways I think is like it's definitely where I had the biggest like confusion for me, and I know that this is like for sci-fi stuff you just kind of have to like let this stuff go. Like, does the Matrix actually make sense? No.
Yes, it does.
But it does at the same time. Like for me, it's like okay, they're plugging in to this thing. They're going into this like internet world where these things
Mm.
can happen. Like I get it. This I just like I don't even. I've been stuck on the science of this for so long. I'm like, so is this like a group psychosis? Is this like a shared meta world of some sort? I don't even understand how this fucking works
I think
at
that's
all.
what it is. But I thought it was just kind of a weird thing because it's like these guys aren't incels because they're all literally married. But what they actually wanted was to bring their marriage back to the 50s and make their wife a 50s housewife. It's like that was what all these guys just figured out to do. And then Chris Pine seemed to rally them together with this kind of metaverse thing to basically kidnap their wives and transport them back virtually. It's like that's what you guys were up to. You guys are married. Like I don't know, just that part was just kind of weird to me. I was like I don't know. Like also, he's like seeing Harry Styles as like some like loser like PC nerd. Like I don't know, man. You can make him have a beard and long hair, but like it's still Harry Styles and it's still Florence Pugh. Like, like it's a beautiful
Yeah.
couple at the end of the day. Like, I don't know. I feel like they'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out. Yeah, I mean, that part definitely was like strange to me. I also was just a little bit confused and like off put by some of the like ethical pieces of it too, right? So like in a lot of the movie, you see them having sexual relations, but it's always Harry, in some way pleasuring Florence. So like,
Hmm.
is he like pleasuring her in real life? Is that how that's working? Because she never pleasures him.
But
Is
in the real world, he's not able to go down on his wife.
How is she keeping him sedated? How is she sedated this entire time? What's happened? Is that what he was like squeezing into her mouth? She just needs water. Like how is
Yeah.
like the
Oh yeah,
logistics of
no.
this all
We
have
don't know
driven me
how it
insane.
works. We don't know
Driven
how it
me
works at
fucking insane.
all. But
Um, I think also
yeah,
I don't get the appeal of Frank. Other like what you get of him is like he's this like elusive cult leader type guy, right? And
yeah,
then
Chris Pine.
when you flash to the twist, he's like putting out these podcasts that these people are finding, almost kind of like a Jordan Peterson type of like guy,
Right.
right? Who gets this huge
Like
following. But like
charismatic alternative thought guy.
but like they're like I don't know, did he really seem like that cool? Like
Right.
I don't know.
That's the thing. It's just very underbaked as a twist, but it's like in the beginning when we don't know we're in some meta simulation. Oh, you know what? Chris Pine is the leader of the Victory Project. Very credible because Chris Pine can uh, choose scenery and
Yeah. Oh my
just
god.
be charming. It's more or less a one note thing, but it doesn't matter because Chris Pine's just so good at like playing that note, and it makes sense that like he has rallied all these dudes to do the secret government work, and all
Hmm.
the wives go along with it because like he's really good at motivating people,
Yeah.
and I, Pine definitely acquits himself well in a supporting role for sure.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I just think everything with the twist is underbaked. And when you try and like think about what the twist is actually saying, it's like we're supposed to apply that to ourselves. It's like or apply it to real life. Like I don't know. It's just like it just doesn't seem that realistic. It's like the threat, of women's rights and the threat of
Hmm.
onto females' role in society. In the world of Andrew Tate and stuff like that. Like I get it. Granted, I'm not actually sure if this is specifically what goes all the way. Like I feel like that's some pretty fringe shit that like
Hmm.
people that want to go back to the 50s.
Yeah, I almost feel like it would have worked better, like you said, if maybe like there wasn't so much of a twist, or if the twist was actually like they are all under some sort of like group hypnosis from like a cult leader of some sort, right? Or some group psychosis like that. And then Florence Pugh is like breaking out of it and like trying to like figure out like what actually happened. Like I feel like that could have worked pretty well. And going back to your point about Chris Pine, the scene where he confronts her in the kitchen at that dinner party, just like the feeling on screen going from Harry and Flo in every scene to then Chris Pine just like looming as she's like cooking dinner, the whole vibe of the movie completely shifts and you're just like, wow, these two actors are so seasoned and so talented and just have so much gravitas on screen. And it just really like makes you, I think, realize like how like out of his depth Harry is
Oh
playing
yeah,
alongside these two. And I, I went with my wife, and she said, "I think if Shia LaBeouf had made this movie, it's a completely different movie. It's so much more serious. It's so much heavier." And I think in a lot of ways she's right, but I don't know if Harry's like silliness to the movie actually like added much. I actually think it took me out of a lot of scenes.
yeah. Well, he just doesn't have enough notes, at least
Yeah.
not yet. And he's just virtually outclassed constantly by being in the presence of other, real actors. He's not really an experienced actor, so it's not necessarily his fault. It's just the fact of the matter.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently he's a little bit better in the Amazon movie coming up later this fall, My Policeman. We'll see. But yeah, I think he's definitely a weak link. I think his accent work is very inconsistent. It started to shine through later on, and then they actually talk about how he's British, and I was like, oh well, you weren't trying to sound British beforehand. You're actually trying to hide that. So maybe they wrote that in later when they realized Harry just
Couldn't
wasn't
do
good
it.
about speaking like an American accent. So hilarious putting him right next to Florence Pugh, his fellow Brit, who obviously is a
Just
real
eat,
actor.
yeah, and eats up American accents so well. Like,
Yep.
incredible. Um, talk to me about like the parts about the beginning of the movie that you liked because you said you were really digging the first act.
Well, yeah, well, I just have like general intrigue about like secret cities and government towns
Hmm.
of that time, and it's like, and to me, I was more about invested. I was like, oh, what are they working on? It's like, is it just nukes? Is it something cool? Is that something more sci-fi twisty that we'll find out later? No, actually, it's completely besides the point. It's just not where the movie goes at all. But I don't know, like I just kind of like the idyllic town and everything, and like the way the all that 50s shit. Like I thought that was a really cool setup, but then it's like, oh, something's not right. Let's find out what it is, and then they really drag their feet before they finally tell you what's not
Hmm.
right. And then when you find out what's not right, it leaves you a bit underwhelmed. But everything before that, I was like, man, this is kind of cool. And then once like Chris Pine shows up, and it's like, oh, even Gemma Chan as his wife,
Yeah.
pretty underbaked character, but like even her, she's like this steely resolve as the partner of the leader of the Victory Project. It's like, huh, I'm digging this, and
Yeah.
then it just goes in a completely different direction.
um, I definitely thought Gemma Chan just continues to assert herself as like probably one of the most underrated actresses. Like her presence on screen, she's first of all just like maybe the most beautiful actress in Hollywood. But like
Definitely.
when she just like it comes into that ballet room, like your jaw just kind of drops because you're just like she's just completely like commanding the scene without even like saying anything. It's like really
Mm-hmm.
impressive, or like even just the way like at the dinner with everybody, she just kind of like asserts herself like so quietly, like she's like yelling without actually yelling. It's like really amazing. I thought she was great. I thought it was really a weird choice to like have Nick Kroll and Kiki Lane and just like give them like 10 lines in total
Yeah. Apparently, Kiki Lane had a lot of scenes
that were cut.
cut, which makes sense because Kiki Lane's a great actor and a
Yeah.
rising talent, very in demand, and to have her basically do nothing as one of the ensemble parts, it's a choice for sure. I actually didn't mind Kroll. It's a bit of a different flair, but I don't know. I feel like he still kind of fit the vibe as like he's just a different kind of cat compared to
Yeah.
Harry Styles. That's fine. Um,
Definitely a different kind of cat for sure.
yeah,
We'll be
yeah,
talking about him in a few weeks. I really like Timothy Simons in this. And I
yep.
first of all,
Shout out Jonah.
it's pretty tough when he literally in like one of the scenes is talking about like them having sex and like pleasuring each other, and to not just think about the famous J. Jonah Jameson, or no, not J. Jonah Jameson,
Um,
Jonah Ryan
yeah,
quote, eating so much pussy and shit and clits. I was like literally thinking about that for the second half of the movie. But I really actually thought he was great, and like brings like the same like eeriness that like Chris Pine's character does for most of the movie. And then I mean he pretty quickly just like gets murked in the second
mm,
half, and stop her, like gets just the cars just run into each
yeah.
other. I don't know if that was the
Great
car
swerve
chase
by Florence on the wheel there.
for real. The car chase was actually I thought really like cool. I just
Yeah,
like at that point I was like, what is happening? My head was
right. Well,
spinning.
it was a nice callback too to the way the movie starts too, when you had that really cool visual of all the husbands leaving home
Yeah.
in the morning, all the wives sending them off in unison, and they all drive out of town in their multicolored
Yeah.
Chevelles, and they go whipping across the desert to their secret workplace.
Hmm.
And then it ends with Florence whipping across the same desert. I was like, I don't know, that was pretty cool. I think the movie looks good,
Oh
and
yeah. There's a lot
like,
of like really like tight scenes, a lot of close-ups. I think the
yeah,
way the camera moves is really great. Like Wild has some nice flourishes as a filmmaker for sure.
yeah. It's just the movie with a script issue. Now I'll be interested to watch what happens with Wild's career next, given that I think some people are really pulling out the knives for her, and at this point, and like I think she's a male filmmaker with like some mild drama behind the scenes, and the movie was kind of whatever. Probably wouldn't be as people coming out as hard, but given the Jason Sudeikis of it all, people are just kind of and Wild has put her foot in her mouth a few times already too. Not she's not blameless in all this, but like I just hope nothing really gets in the way of her getting another chance, because like
Yeah, I
I
don't see
think
that.
there's definitely directing talent here between Booksmart and this, and like yeah, maybe Maybe she needs a steadier hand at the screenplay side of things. She didn't write this movie, to be fair, but like, I think all is not lost for the movie Wild. Obviously, Florence Pugh, Gemma Chan, Chris Pine, they're all certified as actors at this point. And Harry's in wait and see mode. I mean, him having a bad role or a bad performance or mediocre performance is not a big deal to me. And honestly, kind of a good thing he was in it because it seems like his fans helped prop up this movie at the box office
Yeah,
in the
Gen
first
Z
weekend.
crushed it for them.
Yeah, so I'm not expecting this movie to leg out though because it's ultimately an art house movie, and art house movies do not perform with bad reviews. This movie has bad reviews, to be clear. So
If you go on Rotten Tomatoes, which we obviously don't like follow their score as gospel, but it's like a 38% critic and like 80% audience score. So definitely one of the more like polarizing movies between critics
yeah.
and fans that go on this. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think the movie, for as much as it's been like, critically panned, is like way more entertaining than it, has come across in
Right.
open criticism.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's definitely interesting to think about why it doesn't work, and like,
Yeah.
I think there was enough here. That's what makes it so tantalizing. Oh, what if this was done differently? What if this twist
Mhm.
didn't exist and they did something completely else? Because like there were good bones here, and hey,
Yeah.
that's movies.
And you even think about like how much thought Wild put into like certain things about it. Like I was talking about the fact that like it'll- because she's in this sedated state, she's not the one who's like able to do things apparently in real life that happen in there, or however it works out. Like it's very much controlled through him. Or you even think about the fact that like they never actually like eat any of the food. Like they're always talking, but never actually
Right.
see them like put
The
the
eggs
food in
have
their
no
mouths.
yolk.
Right. And like if you notice her eyes throughout, she's like constantly like itching around her eyes as she gets like
Oh, I
further and
didn't notice
further
that.
into the state. Yeah, or her eyes are always looking like dry or like open. I actually wonder if it's one of those movies that if you watch back, like no one actually ever blinks because their eyes are held open.
Yeah.
I would
Once you
be
know the twist, kind of thing.
interested. I also
Yeah.
don't know. This might have just been my theater, so I wanted to ask you on my screen. It was like lines, like these like very faint lines I could see, and I wasn't sure if it was my screen
I think that's
or
just your
just my
projection.
screen. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Or,
no bueno then.
the quality of the screen, actually, not the projection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was something like if you like when they're in
Mm.
the victory for whatever it's called world, that they were like having these lines in the background, and then when they're in real life they're gone.
I
Like I could
mean,
see something like that, you know?
they definitely had something like that when you have those kind of like seizure-inducing like flashings, visuals popping up, which is
Yeah.
like kind of like your sign that something's not right in Florence Pugh's head, you know. And then they take a while to tell you what it actually is, but like right away you're like, what is this like eyeball thing? What are these all
Yeah.
these flashing images? So
With Florence Pugh, I was trying to think of this. Does anyone do this kind of like genre better? The like woman in a like weird fucked up situation that's just kind of like uncovering how weird and fucked up it is. You think about her in like Hereditary, like one of her like first like breakout performances.
Midsommar, you mean?
Yeah, sorry,
The other
Midsommar.
Ari
Thank
Aster
you.
movie.
Yeah. Um, and then in this, obviously, but like she just plays this role so well. Um, I'm just like, she just has something about the way that she portrays herself in these roles where like she has such a good face for like looking tormented or looking like
Mm,
confused. I just think she's like incredible in this. I don't know.
mm,
She's a rocket ship in my book.
totally. And we don't have long to wait. Next year we get to see her in two little movies called Dune Part Two and Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. NBD. What a
Eh,
beast.
two small films. Oh, and she's also gonna be in a movie produced by her. Are they still dating, Zach Braff and her? I don't know.
No, they're done. Thank
Oh,
God.
they're done. Well, he's producing another movie that she's in next
Upgrade.
year. Yeah, serious. Oh, who's she with now?
I don't think she's with anyone.
Good. Be single.
Yeah.
How old is
Also, real
she?
quick, this was the reunion of Chris Pine and Florence Pugh after the underrated David Mackenzie movie Outlaw King on
Great
Netflix.
movie.
A movie I love.
Great movie. We talked about that one. Go check out the review.
We did.
Yeah, man. Oh, Oppenheimer, and then Dune. Man, what a year that's gonna be for her. Good for her. I like her. She's great. Any last thoughts on this?
I think that's plenty.
Yeah. Don't worry.